The china plates felt cool in my hands as I arranged them around my parents' mahogany dining table. From the kitchen, I heard Mom using that familiar tone she relied on when explaining disappointments. "Yes, Rebecca's here," she said into the phone, her voice attempting a whisper but carrying clearly into the dining room. "She's between opportunities right now. You know how the job market is." I set the final plate down and moved to the silverware drawer, letting the routine steady the tightness in my chest. It was the annual Chin family reunion. 3 years ago, I dreaded it. 2 years ago, I nearly skipped it. This year, I accepted it with something close to calm. Between jobs. That was Aunt Linda's voice. Sharp, curious. "Wasn't she between jobs last year, too?" Mom sighed. "It's complicated. She's particular about what she wants to do. The economy." Her discomfort was clear even from the next room. I folded napkins into triangles, the habit ingrained from countless family dinners. Let them think what they wanted. The truth was so far from their understanding that explaining felt pointless. Jessica breezed through the front door, surrounded by expensive perfume and practiced confidence. Her heels clicked with the certainty of someone who had never questioned their place in the world. "Is she actually helping?" she asked loudly. "Or just pretending to be useful?" "Jessica, please," Mom said, but without real reprimand. I stepped out with serving bowls. Jessica eyed my plain jeans and simple sweater with thinly veiled judgment. "Still dressing like a thrift store regular, I see," she said, examining her nails. "Some things don't need to change," I replied, walking past her. "That's the perfect attitude for a chronic underachiever," she called. "Embrace mediocrity and call it authenticity." Dad came from his study already in reunion mode, cheerful and eager to present his successful family. His smile dimmed slightly when he saw me. "Rebecca, good you're here early." He hesitated. "When people ask what you're doing, maybe just say you're consulting. It sounds better than nothing." "I'm not doing nothing, Dad." Right, your little projects." He waved a hand. "But to people who don't understand, it might sound like unemployment. We don't want them to worry." "Worry about what?" "About you," he said gently, as though explaining something simple. "Whether you're okay, whether we failed somehow." Jessica laughed from the living room. Too late for that question. The doorbell rang. Within half an hour, the house was full. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends. Every greeting followed the same script: warmth, small talk, then the predictable question, "So, Rebecca, what are you up to these days?" And each time, someone answered for me. "She's taking time to figure things out," Mom said. "Still exploring her options," Dad added. "Between opportunities" became their preferred phrase. Jessica moved through the room like a campaigner, her recent promotion to senior marketing director the highlight of every conversation. She positioned herself near me often, creating an intentional contrast. "It's such a demanding role," she told Uncle Robert and Aunt Mary. "But seeing campaigns go national, it's worth the 70-hour weeks." She glanced at me. "Though not everyone handles that pressure." "Rebecca's always been more low-key," Uncle Robert said politely. "That's one word for it," Jessica murmured. Cousin David joined, fresh from closing a major real estate deal. "Success requires taking risks," he announced. "People who play it safe achieve nothing." "Exactly," Jessica agreed. "Some people can't handle responsibility." I excused myself to check the food, ignoring Jessica's satisfied smile. In the kitchen, I found Aunt Linda and Mom in deep conversation. "Have you suggested something concrete?" Aunt Linda asked. "Even part-time retail? It would give her structure." "We've tried," Mom said, exhausted. "She talks about her work, but nothing seems to happen. I think she might be depressed." "Oh, honey," Aunt Linda said, touching her arm. "That's so hard. Has she seen someone?" "She doesn't think there's a problem." I cleared my throat, and they both jumped. The pity in their eyes felt worse than Jessica's contempt. "Rebecca, we were just discussing my supposed psychological crisis," I said, checking the roast. "We're worried," Mom whispered. "It's been 3 years since you left that job, and you're not." "Not what you expected," I finished. Back in the living room, the reunion was in full swing. Jessica had gathered an audience again. "In my position, I meet incredible people," she said. "Last week, I had lunch with a Forbes 30 Under 30 recipient. That's the kind of company successful people keep." "Jessica's always been ambitious," Aunt Mary said. "Not everyone has that drive," Cousin David added. "Some people are leaders, Some are followers. Some are ordinary. I sat at the edge of the group, letting the conversation move around me. What did it matter if they used me as their cautionary example? Where's Rebecca working now? Uncle James asked as he arrived. The room fell silent. She's on a sabbatical, Dad said carefully, taking time to reassess her goals. For 3 years? Uncle James asked, genuinely concerned. Some people bloom late, Jessica said sweetly. Though at 32, you do wonder when the blooming starts. Laughter followed, not cruel, but not kind. Dinner was announced and we moved to the dining room. I ended up between Aunt Mary and Uncle Robert, both treating me with that careful gentleness reserved for the fragile. So, Rebecca, Uncle Robert asked, how do you spend your time? Hobbies. I work, actually, I said. Jessica snorted. On what? Your imaginary projects? I consult. Consult? She repeated mockingly. On what? Avoiding employment. Jessica, Dad said weakly. No, seriously, if she's working, why does she never talk about it? No business cards, no website, no proof of this career. Some work doesn't need flashy marketing, I said. Convenient excuse, Jessica said, turning to the table. Isn't that what unemployed people always say? I'm consulting? It's code for I gave up. The table went silent again. Jessica continued. Look, I love my sister, but at some point we have to stop pretending she has some secret professional life. She's unemployed, and the more we act like she's doing something serious, the longer she stays stuck. All eyes moved to me, waiting for a reaction. I took a sip of water. May I have the potatoes, please? Jessica threw up her hands. See? No ambition. No fight. Dinner moved forward awkwardly. I had been defined officially as the family concern, the disappointing child. After dinner, while I cleared plates, I overheard Cousin David talking in the living room. The economy's tough, sure, he said, but winners find a way. They network, hustle, make things happen. Failures make excuses. Rebecca's not even making excuses anymore, Jessica added. Don't use that word, Mom said weakly. What word should I use? Underachiever? Unmotivated? Some kids just don't turn out as you hope, Jessica said. I loaded the dishwasher methodically, letting their voices fade into background noise. They needed a narrative. Jessica needed to be the successful daughter. My parents needed to explain my choices. The extended family needed a cautionary tale. The truth was irrelevant to them. Aunt Mary found me in the kitchen. Rebecca, honey, can we talk? Of course. I want you to know we don't judge you. Family is family, successful or not. I appreciate that, but I do worry. You're so isolated, no career, no visible social life. It's not healthy. Have you considered therapy? I'm fine, Aunt Mary, really. But you're not, sweetie. You're alone, unemployed, hiding. We just want to help. Before I could answer, Aunt Linda burst in. Turn on the TV now, everyone. She led us to the living room, urgency pulling everyone along. Uncle James already had CNN on. The screen filled with my image, full screen, standing in front of the UN with world leaders and humanitarian organization heads. The anchor announced unprecedented achievement. At 32, Dr. Rebecca Chin had transformed global health infrastructure in developing nations, providing clean water and medical access to over 50 million people across 3 continents. The room was silent. Footage from 6 months earlier appeared. The opening of a water treatment facility in sub-Saharan Africa, a 2-year project. My approach combined advanced filtration with community-driven maintenance, ensuring long-term sustainability. Another shot showed me shaking hands with the UN Secretary General. The anchor continued. My foundation, operating with radical transparency, publicly released financial data and outcome metrics, setting new standards for nonprofit accountability. Time magazine named me Person of the Year for my transformative impact on global health equity. The cover appeared, professional, composed, the change maker. Uncle Robert broke the silence first. That's you. I nodded, still holding a plate. The segment noted that unlike many humanitarian efforts, my work had measurable outcomes transforming millions of lives. Clips of my interviews aired. I explained that I didn't work for recognition, but to provide clean water and medical access. Criticism about radical methods? Good. I said, if everyone's comfortable, you're not solving the real problem. Back in the living room, the news had moved on, but no one reached for the remote. You're Person of the Year, Mom whispered. It's just a title, I replied. Dad couldn't finish a sentence. He pulled out his phone, typing frantically. Articles everywhere. New York Times, BBC, Washington Post. Aunt Linda gasped, Rebecca, why didn't you say something? You never asked what I actually did, I said. You asked if I had a job. Different question. Jessica went pale. You've been all this time working? Yes, consulting? She asked hesitantly. I consult with governments, NGOs, and international organizations on sustainable infrastructure. Cousin David scrolled his phone. Degrees from MIT and Johns Hopkins, 17 peer-reviewed papers, multiple TED Talks. Uncle James noted my foundation's annual budget exceeded some small country's GDP. Mom was crying. Pride, shock, or embarrassment. I couldn't tell. Rebecca, why didn't you tell us? She asked. I tried. You weren't interested in details. You only wanted to know if I had a real job. The work mattered more than recognition or awards. Jessica's face crumpled. I thought you were a failure. I was wrong. I'm so sorry. It's fine. You judged based on incomplete information. We should have asked, Dad said. We should have listened. I did the work. Not for your approval, I said. 50 million people needed clean water more than I needed you to understand my career choices. Phones buzzed around the room as relatives discovered articles, videos, interviews. Forbes listed me among the top 50 philanthropists under 40. Economic impact estimates exceeded $3 billion. Aunt Linda found photos, me with the Dalai Lama, among others. Jessica sat, stunned. I made you the family joke and your person of the year. I'm still the same person. What you thought doesn't change the work. What magazines say doesn't change the work. The work exists independently. I explained to Jessica that her assumptions were driven by insecurity and incomplete information. Mom asked why I hadn't corrected them. Explaining takes time and energy. I preferred to spend that on work. Your perception didn't affect the work. It only affected your understanding. Dad spoke in wonder. You've been a global health leader, and we thought you were unemployed. I left corporate consulting to start the foundation. That was the plan. I told you 3 years ago, but you dismissed it. Uncle Chin, the family patriarch, approached. You broke their comfortable illusions tonight. Your grandmother rebuilt a village after the war. Rebecca has her eyes. She doesn't shrink to meet limited expectations. Jessica cornered me in the kitchen while I washed dishes. I don't know what to say, she began. Then don't say anything, I suggested gently. You built your entire identity around being the successful daughter, and it turns out I'm not even close to your level. We're not in competition, Jessica, are we? Wasn't the point of tonight to have dinner with family? You let me mock you, let everyone pity you, and then revealed your Time Person of the Year award. The point was dinner. The announcement coincided with the reunion. I didn't plan a dramatic reveal. But you could have told us before, prevented all of this. Prevented what? Everyone revealing how they really saw me. This wasn't punishment, it's just reality. You thought I was a failure because that's what you needed to feel successful. The magazine title doesn't change who I've been for the last 3 years. It only changes your perception. Jessica was crying, makeup running. I'm so ashamed. Don't be. Be curious instead. Question why you needed me to be less than you. Question what success means beyond titles and salaries. Question what you miss when judging by appearances. How are you so calm? She asked. I knew who I was before tonight. I know who I am tomorrow. External validation doesn't change that. Does it change you? She asked quietly. Maybe, but it doesn't change the work. Later, as the reunion wound down, relatives approached with requests. Introductions, access to events, help with causes. I politely deflected, offering foundation contacts but maintaining firm boundaries. Mom found me putting on my coat. Don't go yet. We need to talk properly. We just did for 3 hours, I said. I still don't understand. Why hide this? I didn't hide it. Everything was public. Articles, speeches, the website. You didn't look because you'd already decided my story. That's not fair. Completely fair. You wanted a conventional career you could brag about. When I chose differently, you stopped listening. Most people do the same thing. Dad joined us in the foyer. What happens now? I go home, prep for tomorrow's video conference with the Kenyan Health Ministry, and continue the work. Same as always. Everything's changed, he insisted. Nothing changed except your awareness. The work happened before tonight, and it'll happen after. Your understanding is irrelevant to its existence. That's harsh. It's honest. I opened the door. You're my family. I love you. But I can't live seeking approval or fearing judgment. I tried that for years. It was exhausting. I chose the work over your comfort. The right choice for me and the 50 million people who benefited from it. When can we see you again? Mom asked softly. Next reunion, or a birthday or holiday, you are part of my life, just not the center. The work is the center. Accept that and engage with who I am, or continue being disappointed. Either way, I'll love you and do the work. Uncle Chin caught me at the car. You handled that well. Did I? I feel like I broke something tonight. You broke their illusions that needed breaking. Your grandmother said, people who love you for who they think you are will struggle when they meet who you actually are. Tonight they met you. Give them time. If they don't adjust, you continue being you, they continue being them of, and you love each other from honest distance. Not ideal, but real is better than pretend. I drove home through quiet streets. My phone buzzed with messages from relatives, apologetic, congratulatory, confused. I'd respond in time with the same patient honesty. The work would continue. Meetings about sanitation projects in Bangladesh, grant applications for medical access in rural India, follow-up data from water systems in Ethiopia. None of that changed based on magazine covers or family opinions. Tonight clarified what I suspected for years. Validation from others is irrelevant to meaningful work. Whether family understood, whether magazines awarded titles, whether critics dismissed efforts, the work exists independently. 50 million people had clean water because I chose to solve a problem, not manage perceptions. Times Person of the Year or family opinions didn't change that. The work was the point. Always had been. Everything else was commentary. The reunion's late arrivals began filtering in, unaware of the evening's earlier revelations. Aunt Linda immediately thrust her phone at them. Look, Rebecca's Person of the Year. The newcomers went through their own cycle of shock and disbelief, scrolling through articles and videos, trying to reconcile the quiet woman in jeans with the global humanitarian leader on their screens. Uncle Chin, the family patriarch at 83, arrived last. He observed the room, phones, the TV, and relatives in stunned silence. Dryly, he said, "Let me guess. You all spent the evening telling Rebecca she was a failure, and now you find out she's more successful than everyone here combined." Don't, Dad started, but Uncle Chin waved him off. I saw this coming 3 years ago. Rebecca has her grandmother's eyes. That woman rebuilt a village after the war with nothing but determination and intelligence. I knew Rebecca would do something similar. He approached me, face creasing into a warm smile. Person of the Year. Your grandmother would be proud. Thank you, Uncle Chin, though I suspect the title isn't what matters much. It helps with fundraising, I admitted. Donors like supporting award-winning organizations. He laughed, a deep, rumbling sound. Always practical, very much like your grandmother. He turned to the room. You want to know why you didn't see this? Because you were looking at Rebecca through your own definitions of success. You wanted her to fit your understanding of achievement. She refused to shrink to match your limited vision. Mom protested weakly. We just wanted her to be happy. She is happy, Uncle Chin replied. Happy doing things you didn't value enough to notice. Jessica, silent for minutes, scrolled through article after article. Profiles in every major publication. Forbes, Fortune, The Economist. They all call you a visionary. I'm not a visionary, I said. I'm a problem solver who solved a big problem, that's all. You've been invited to the World Economic Forum, yet turned them down multiple times, Cousin David read aloud. Why? Those conferences are for talking about problems. I prefer spending that time solving them, I explained. Aunt Linda approached tentatively. Rebecca, I need to apologize. I was condescending, presumptuous. You were concerned, misguided, but concerned. I don't hold it against you. Uncle Chin interjected. You are a case for charity, just not the kind they thought. You showed charity by not embarrassing them with the truth until forced. The evening became a strange reception. Some relatives apologized, some claimed they always knew I was destined for greatness, and some, like Uncle Chin, simply accepted the revelation. Later, Jessica and I spoke quietly in the kitchen. I built my identity around being successful. Turns out, I misjudged everything. We're not in competition. You assumed failure because you needed to feel successful. The magazine doesn't change who I was these last 3 years, only your perception, I reminded her. She cried. I'm ashamed. Don't be. Be curious. Question why you needed me to be less. Question what success really means beyond titles and salaries. Question what you miss when judging people by appearances. I drove home through quiet streets. Phones buzzed with messages, apologies, congratulations, confusion. I would respond in time. The work continued: sanitation projects in Bangladesh, medical access programs in rural India, follow ups on water systems in Ethiopia. None of it depended on family opinions or media recognition. Tonight confirmed what I had always known: validation is irrelevant to meaningful work. 50 million people had clean water because I chose to solve a problem rather than manage perceptions. Titles, magazine covers, family approval, those are just commentary. The work is the point. Always has been. Everything else is background noise.